Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and as requested, today we're exploring the Space Marines featured throughout 40k lore. The Space Marines, or Adeptus Astartes, are amongst the foremost defenders of humanity, the greatest of the Emperor of Mankind's warriors. They are barely human at all, but superhuman, having been made superior in all respects by a harsh regime of genetic modification, psycho-conditioning, and rigorous training. Untouched by plague or natural disease, they can suffer wounds that would kill a lesser being several times over, and live to fight again. Clad in ancient power armour and wielding the most potent weapons known to man, the Space Marines are terrifying foes with unyielding devotion to the Emperor and the Imperium of Man. They are the God Emperor's angels of death, and they do not know fear. The brute strength of the towering transhuman warriors is tempered by inhuman skill, and each is armed with the fearsome bolter, a blessed weapon that fires devastating mass-reactive shells that explode within the target. They are protected by a suit of power armor, shielding them from the fiercest of enemy fire, while simultaneously strengthening their blows and allowing them to survive the most hostile of environments. In the presence of the Astartes, most feel a combination of awe and fear, and many cultures on the more primitive world simply worship them outright as demigods or angels of the God Emperor made flesh. They should feel so, for many Space Marines feel little compassion for mortals, seeing the very people they were created to protect as little more than obstacles to a more efficient eradication of the Imperium's enemies. This is an attitude sometimes taken by whole chapters. They see normal humans as frail, weak creatures, given to the follies of temptation, avarice, greed, lust, and cowardice, all emotions they rarely feel, if ever. Yet Astartes remember why they were created by the Emperor, and most avoid the trap of hubris that has seduced so many of their number to serve the ruinous powers of chaos. They are the final guardians of mankind against the horrors of the beyond. They were intended not to lead humanity, but to defend it, sometimes even from itself. At the heart of that mission lies the limitless compassion of the Emperor, who willingly chose to condemn himself to more than 10,000 years of imprisonment within a dying prison of flesh for humanity. Some Astartes sneer at compassion, seeing it as one more human weakness that has been purged from their superhuman transhuman bodies and minds. But the wisest of the Space Marines know that in the end, compassion is our only salvation. Potential Space Marines are usually, but not always, recruited from worlds where a chapter has established its fortress monastery, although some chapters are known to recruit from a collection of different worlds in an area of space that they protect or frequent. Recruiting methods vary from chapter to chapter. Some elect their neophytes from feral tribes roaming the surface of inhospitable worlds, while others draw upon eager volunteers who have been prepared from birth to become Astartes. Still others watch and kidnap potential warriors, turning them into Astartes, whether they will it or not. Whatever the method, all Space Marine chapters will only accept those who successfully pass the grueling initiation trials and prove themselves worthy. Once a man becomes a Space Marine, he is no longer mortal. His genetic heritage is now that of the Emperor himself, and a spark of the same divine majesty flows in their veins. The Space Marines are organized into roughly 1,000 chapters, with each chapter numbering approximately 1,000 warriors, organized into 10 companies of 100 troops. Each is basically a self-sufficient Imperial army, equipped with its own spacecraft that can immediately respond to any threat to the security of the Imperium. And there are many types, from Space Wolves, descendants of the 6th Legion, who specialize in shock assault, search and destroy, and anti-Asterites warfare. Ultramarines, descendants of the 13th Legion, who specialize in combined arms, versatility, and empire building. Black Templars, descendants of the 7th Legion, who specialize in religious fervor-fueled close-quarters combat, and mass assault planetary invasions, to many more. All chapters are fiercely proud of their history, and each have their own distinct colors and markings displayed with pride upon all of their armor and vehicles. All of their war gear is painstakingly maintained, and many items are covered with intricately rendered devotional High Gothic script, each line detailing a battle honor won in a glorious campaign. The Space Marines can trace their origins back to the Unification Wars on Terra in the late 30th millennium, when the Emperor of Mankind first revealed his existence, and led regiments of Thunder Warriors into a great campaign to unite all of the techno-barbarian tribes and nation-states of old Earth under his rule. From the outset of his retaking of Terra, the Emperor employed genetically modified warriors, and in those early enhanced troops lay the origins of what would later become the Space Marine Legions. During the Age of Strife, known as Old Night on Terra, the cradle of mankind had seen more than its fair share of augments and super soldiers, created both from bioalchemy of genetic engineering and cybernetic augmentation. But it was the Emperor's own Thunder Warriors, named from the early Thunderbolt and Raptor's Head heraldry used by their master in the Imperium's earliest days, that were proven to be superior to all. These superhuman warriors were a gestalt mix of unprecedented superhuman physical power, gene-programmed resistance to environmental and even psychic attack, a warlike spirit, and the Emperor's own strategic genius. The Thunder Regiments were an army unlike any that had come before them, and the forces of the powerful tyrant of old Earth would fall under their might. The following unification marked the beginning of the Imperium of Man and the Emperor's quest to reunite all of humanity under a single interstellar government. A quest meant to prevent humanity's extinction from the growing threats that confronted the galaxy in the wake of the Age of Strife. But despite their many early victories in the unification wars, the Thunder Warriors were far from perfect. Some were mentally unstable, others suffered catastrophic biological failure after an unprecedented lifespan caused their own superhuman bodies to turn against them. It seems obvious in retrospect that the Emperor knew early on that a more permanent and stable force of genetically enhanced warriors was needed, and so, while the Thunder Warriors waged war, he gathered a team of savants and gene wrights and constructed a new genetics laboratory deep in the vast dungeons of the former Sigillite. Their work continued for solar decades in absolute secrecy and resulted in the creation of the Primarchs and other wonders of genecraft. Foremost amongst these were the Space Marine Legions, the Adeptus Astartes. Into their creation went all the secret history and genetic lore of the Age of Strife, hard wisdom gained through the success and failure of the Thunder Warriors and the Emperor's own unparalleled genius. Well, that's all for today, folks. Join us next week for our next part of our Warhammer 40k dive. Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.